he ain't down with no motherfucking peach tree.
Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we're going to be discussing the life of Awol from the Kelly Park, Compton Crips. Now, Awol was born Donald Stallworth in Compton, California on February 16, 1976. He would grow up on the east side in a section controlled by the Kelly Park Crips. Now, Kelly Park had been in Compton since the late 70s. Once called the Kelly Park Hustler Crips, would eventually be called the Compton Crips. Now, this gang had a very violent reputation in the streets of Compton, being tied to multiple murders, shootings, robberies, and narcotic sales. Now, in his early years, Awol would attend church along with his family. His sister, who later became a gospel singer, will also be a part of the choir. Now, as a kid, Awol was known for being the class clown and cracking jokes on other students. Now, living in Kelly Park, Awol would see a lot of death taking place in his neighborhood, especially amongst kids only a few years older than him. Now, by the age of 11, Awol would start hanging around in the neighborhood a lot, especially going to local parties thrown by Kelly Park Compton Crips. And by 1987, Awol would find himself getting in trouble with the law and arrested for grand theft. But those charges would eventually be dismissed. Now, as the violence got worse in the city of Compton, his parents would have him attend a DARE program in hopes to prevent him from falling further into the street life. Awol, along with 39 other group of kids, would attend a cruise to see life beyond the neighborhood. Now, during the interview, 13-year-old Awol would state, "This sure takes you away from the drugs and stuff back home. My neighborhood is okay, but a couple blocks away, it's bad." But like most kids his age, this was only a temporary escape from their neighborhood. And eventually, he'll get his put on to the Kelly Park Compton Crips. Now, over the next few years, Awol will continue to get in trouble in the streets, and in 1989, he will be arrested and convicted on loitering and causing a public disturbance while hanging out in Kelly Park. Now, around the same time, Awol will become tight homies with fellow Crip members named BG Scarface and Gangster from Atlantic Drive Compton Crips. Now, Atlantic Drive Hood was right across White Avenue next to Kelly Park. Now, by the 90s, gangbang was at its worst, and Awol was right in the mix. Awol was being involved in fights, shootings with rival gang members. Like many other young kids in the street, Awol would find a way to make money, so he would resort to selling drugs. Although Awol was selling drugs, Awol did smoke weed. But also a popular thing to do at this time in the 90s was sherm sticks. Now, most people smoke this for that extra high, simply taking a joint and dipping it in liquid PCP. Now, for many people, this was a way to deal with trauma or a way to take off the edge before committing crimes. Now, Awol also had a very deep love for rapping, and he, like many others from his area, were inspired by Kelly Park's own Eazy-E, who was a star at the time. And in 1993, Awol will make his debut on a song called Bangin' on Wax. Now, this album will go on to sell over 500,000 copies and be certified gold by 1994. Awol would show off and display his storytelling skills and gaining a lot of new fans. And this would lead him to returning for Bangin' on Wax Volume 2 in 1994. And this time, Awol will be featured on a hit single called G's and Lokes.
A chicken red make a BG itch. I disagree with the homies cause I ain't macking to no stop trick.
At this point, Awol was a certified hood star, being one of the best storytellers on the mic on the West Coast. Now, although Bangin' on Wax 2 didn't sell as many copies as the previous album, just coming short in of 400,000 units, it still kept the spotlight on a lot of up-and-coming gangster rappers. Now, Awol will continue his rap career by linking up with Pyru member Bloody Mary on her debut album, Nina X. Now, with his newfound fame, Awol still had to hustle in the streets to make ends meet. He would find himself going in and out of LA County over the next few years for minor drug charges and different misdemeanor acts. Now, in 1995, he would join the nationwide Rip Riders, which was a collection of different Crip hoods who would put out an album.
Kelly Crip with my homies from the end gang. East side Rip Ride to the membrane.
Now, after this album's release, it was rumored that Rap-A-Lot rapper Scarface had shown interest in signing Awol to a major deal, but sadly, this will never take place because Rip Riders album will be Awol's final rap album that he was a part of. By 1997, Awol was going back and forth from San Diego to Oakland and Compton to hustling in the streets to make his money. On Thursday, July 4th, 1997, Awol had just came back to San Diego Oceanside after visiting Compton and seeing his family. At around 12 a.m., as he headed back home, he walked down the 300 block of South Freeman Street when Oceanside police would pull up on him. Now, allegedly, Awol had a warrant out for his arrest for Oakland drug charges. Now, during his arrest, police would find a concealed 9mm gun in his waistband. They would find no other drugs or anything else on his persons. Now, Oceanside police would claim that during his arrest, there was no altercation nor incident, and Awol was transported to Oceanside Police Headquarters. According to police, Awol was placed in a holding cell for over 30 minutes before being transported to Vista Jail on Melrose Drive. Now, police would also claim during transport that Awol suddenly went unconscious and was rushed to Tri-City Medical Center to be treated. And sadly, at 3 a.m., 21-year-old Awol will be pronounced dead. Now, his death will cause a lot of controversy with his family. Now, Oceanside police will later claim that they believed Awol may have swallowed hidden drugs, which caused his death. But the issue is that when they searched him during his initial arrest, he didn't have any drugs on him except his firearm. But it is believed by many people, family and friends, that Awol was beaten and choked by one of the officers before being placed into his holding cell that night. But of course, police would investigate and find no wrongdoings. And as we all know, in the 90s, the relationship between the black community and the police force, especially in California, was very divided, especially because of the Rodney King situation. But regardless, Awol would lose his life at the age of 21 years old. I would like to thank everybody for tapping in, and I'll see y'all next time.